Hello everyone, it's Dr. G. Welcome to the video on positioning. This is the third of 3 videos while we get to understand the marketing strategy concept of segmentation, targeting, and positioning. If you recall, segmentation, targeting, and positioning is one of the most important things you'll ever do in your marketing career. And the reason is because people are different. And not everybody is going to love your product. So what we want to do is we want to find those groups of people who are most interested within your market of wanting to most interested in your product. So we call that segmentation. So we take that market and we slice them into pies of people who have similar attributes. The second thing we do, once we have the pie slice, we have those different wedges, we need to prioritize the best customer groups to sell to. So we're going to pick those slices, and that's what we call targeting. Now, once we have identified those target audiences, we take a deep look at who they are and we attempt to create value, relative advantage in the minds of those customers, and that is called positioning, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So when we talk about positioning today, we are going to focus on cheesecakes, because who doesn't love cheesecakes, right? They're amazing. And I've had students who have built cheesecake stores, a variety of them, and I want to share with you a little bit about the cheesecake industry and how you might go about positioning that. So if you recall, positioning is creating and demonstrating the value in the mind of the target audience. So the first thing we do, who are those groups of people that have similarities within that market? We're going to prioritize them, and then we are going to demonstrate and create the value in the mind of those target audiences that we have selected for our offering. So what is positioning? Positioning is changing or demonstrating that value for that target audience. And we can do this in a number of ways. We can do that by positioning or changing the perception of the value for the offering we have today, or sometimes we can't change perception, we actually have to make changes in the offering itself. So think about it this way. When you're looking at your marketing mix, and remember the marketing mix is the tactical piece that comes after strategy, the segmentation, targeting, and positioning, we can look at the marketing mix as a place, price, promotion, or product. So let's look at distribution channel or place. So everything that you do as a company and your product offering sends a message of perception to that end user. So let's think about place. So a while ago, when Kmart was still in existing, as if you remember, Kmart was a big box department retailer. They used to sell Samsung products. They were a distributor of Samsung products. Well, at one point in time, the perception of Kmart had changed to the point where Samsung didn't believe that they were sending the right perception of what they believed their high-quality products were, selling it in what they believed to be a lesser end department store of Kmart. So they decided they were going to pull their products out of that distribution channel. That is positioning. Think about pricing and positioning. Sometimes you have the low-cost provider, such as a Walmart, but then you might have a position such as a Tiffany's, where they're going to say in terms of price, we're never going to have a sale. We're never going to discount our product, because that is not the position of the luxury item that we want to sell. Finally, you can think of promotion. So promotion could be Nike as a sporting company decides to use Colin Kaepernick as their spokesperson because they want to position their company as a company not only as sporting, but as a social justice, a company that believes in social justice. So that in their promotions, they select Colin Kaepernick. You can also think about product quality. So let's think about Bose or Apple, where these are the higher end, more products that exude an example or a position of quality, and they're very proud of that. So when you think about positioning, it's not just about how you promote your product, but how you demonstrate in the mind of that buyer where you distribute your products, how you price them, how they're promoted, and the product itself. Do what quality, what attributes you're going to put or features within those products. So that's positioning as a whole. Think of it as changing the actual and the perception of your audience in the mind of that target. So how do we go about doing this? One of the first things that you do as a firm, let's keep cheesecake in mind. Remember, we're talking about cheesecake today. So I have a company here, a subscription cheesecake model. So think about it as I am going to send you cheesecakes on demand when you want them, or maybe a Cheesecake of the Month Club. So if you are the product owner or the firm, the marketer of this cheesecake factory, you are going to want to understand, based on your target audience, how do you want to position your product? So generally we do something called a perception map, where we take two different attributes and we try to determine where we want to be in the mind of the buyer. So in this case, we've got, if you have mail order cheesecakes, think about pricing. Are they expensive or inexpensive? And what about quality of ingredients? Exceptional quality or poor quality? So these are the decisions you have to make related to your offering. So let's say I'm in charge of the cheesecake subscription of the month. This is where I want to be. I want my firm, I want consumers, my target audience, to believe that I am really high quality in ingredients, but if you look at where my pricing is, I want to be middle of the road pricing. So everything I do around my offering, who I'm going to distribute it, how I'm going to price my products, and how I will promote them, imagery, copying, where I may place my advertisements, is around this position here. High quality, middle of the road pricing. So this is where you want to be. Now the next thing you do is we have to identify, do consumers align to where your position are? So what we do research. We ask a bunch of consumers in the segments that you are interested in, those target audiences, about their perceptions of your product. So we do some consumer research and we ask, maybe we'll do some taste tests, and we're going to say, what do you think about the Cheesecake of the Month Club in terms of quality of the product and price? Maybe some of the customers might believe that there's some exceptional quality and it's really expensive. Well, you might think to yourself, well, maybe that's just one little segment of customers and they don't matter. So what you're going to do is you're going to ask each one of your segments, your target audiences, these questions. What is the quality of our product? And how do you feel about the pricing? And then what you do, you take all of those responses and you look at the size of the segment. So in this case, the size of the circle is equivalent to the number of people within that market, that segment. So you have young families here. Young families believe that it's kind of inexpensive, but the quality is sort of mediocre. If you talk about college students who probably are on a limited budget are going to say, they're saying, well, they're a little bit too expensive for me, and the quality really isn't all that great. So it's a little bit lower on the quality. So you can compare these two segments. They're about the same size. College students are a little bit higher. So if you don't want to make any changes to your product, you're going to maybe realize that the college students might think our product's a little bit too expensive and they don't think we have very good quality. Then the empty nesters. So let's take a look at those retired people or people whose children are out of the household, and they're thinking, well, yeah, it's a little bit expensive, but I think the quality is a little bit higher than middle of the road. Then you might have the urban singles, your entertainers type. They're the closest to what you thought the perception of the market would be. And they're thinking really good quality, expensive. So what you're thinking about here is as you're looking at the perception of these target markets in terms of these two attributes, you might decide, well, I want to focus on young families because the size of that target audience is bigger. And I think, with a little bit of help in terms of positioning, I may be able to shift the perception of this big target audience up to where I want to be. So we might make some changes in ingredients. We might position or communicate our value differently to this young family segment. So this is called a perception map, and this is a great way to understand whether the value that you are trying to portray to your target audience is actually where it's at. And you may have to, like the Cheesecake Factory, if you're interested in a particular segment, you may have to reposition your product offering or the way you demonstrate value to that particular target audience. So there's 3 different ways that we do this. And so positioning is once. You know where the perception of the market is now. So you want to identify who these customers are. Who is that target audience? You want to know, does my product today fulfill those needs? And the third thing is, why is this product or service the best option? How do we compare to our competition or doing nothing at all? So we create a statement called a positioning statement, and it really is our roadmap to help our company make decisions around our marketing mix. So how does this look in the real world? There is something called a position statement formula. And trust me, this is the only formula you're going to need for creating a position. And it helps you walk through the steps of where your audience is and how you can take your product and position it to that particular audience. So let's take the Cheesecake of the Month Club again. When you write a position statement, the first thing you do is you determine which target audience are you thinking about. Who do you want to influence? What are their needs based on this product? Then you're going to describe to them what this product does for them. How do they solve that need? Then you're going to talk about how are you different from every other cheesecake out there? Making it your own, going to the grocery store, going to the big cheesecake store. How are you different? And then finally, the proof points. The proof is in the pudding. Why should I believe you? So let's take an example of one target audience. Let's say 2, this is the who, what is the product, and why is the value. So those are the 3 components you need in every position statement. So I'm going to walk through an example for you. The first target audience of those people who may want to have our cheesecakes are young families. 2 young families. Who? Let's describe them. What do they want? Young families want a tasty dessert. Okay, so let's think of young families. Maybe these young families only get cheesecake at a particular time. Maybe it's a celebration, a birthday party, an anniversary. So they want a tasty dessert for this celebration. The product is the celebration treat. We're only going to get it at various times. So we want to make sure it's special. That tastes better than store-bought. So if I want to do my on-demand cheesecakes that come through the mail order, They better be special enough and taste better than store-bought because dang, I'm having a good celebration. So why do we believe you? We believe you because it's voted best by Parent Magazine. This is the proof point. To young families who want a tasty dessert, the product is the celebration treat that tastes better than store-bought because it's voted best by Parent Magazine. So this is how you create a position which will help you make decisions on your product offering and how you demonstrate value. So when you're talking about young families, is it a tasty dessert? Is it special enough for a celebration treat? Does it taste better than store-bought? And how do you know this? So this is your guidepost to making sure your offering is positioned correctly to that particular target audience. So let's try another one. Again, now this particular time, we're going to look at a different target audience, urban singles. Okay, so you got your foodie entertainer. Imagine a dinner party at, some swank condo in some beautiful city. So you've got these urban singles putting on a show for their friends. So the urban singles who entertain their friends, it is no longer the tasty dessert. It is an entertainment device. This product is the dinner party indulgent. This is no longer the family celebration. Has to be an indulgence. Indulgence meaning we might spend a little bit more on it. We want it to be super special because we want to show off to our friends that we're foodies. That has exotic flavors. So if I'm thinking about urban singles, not only do I have to think about it has to be super quality, it's an indulgent, I may have to look at the flavor offerings that I put into it to reach the value for this target market because it's the go-to at-home dessert for chefs. So can you see the nuances here? Excuse me, between the young families and the celebration, and you want it to taste better than store-bought, and it's voted on by Parent Magazine to you got the foodie crowd, the more exotic flavors. You might have to change your flavors up. You might have to get some testimonials from some chefs and really maybe the packaging or the elegance. It needs to be a little bit more elegant. So you may have to change your product offering, change your value, or even the way you describe or prove your position for that particular target audience. So this is what positioning is. So if you remember, we have several groups of people, which are segments. Segments could be, in this case, everybody. Maybe a segment is anyone who loves cheesecake. Maybe it's the urban singles. Maybe it's the family. But once you have those segments, then you're going to chop them into slices of the pie, and you're going to determine, maybe for the young families, I'm going to develop my offering around them, and I'm going to position my product of value around them, or maybe the urban singles. And so finally, the positioning piece is taking that unique target audience and showing value to them. So hopefully you now have a good understanding of not only how to position your product towards your target audience, but have a great understanding of why we segment our market, why we prioritize through targeting, and how we position our value. So I hope you have a great day, and please watch all 3 videos on segmentation, targeting, and positioning. Take care.